everybody. I'm Erica. Amy. The Lounge Experience, and we're super honored to be here. We're huge fans of Reinhard and Cigar Journal and what the European market brings to the culture. Yes. So I'm really excited to talk and answer all of your
way too kind.
I'll get to know you guys too. Yeah.
You're way too kind to start off, right? It's a pleasure and honor for us to have you on the show, and I would like to, well, first of all, thank you for your contribution to this industry and for your amazing work with TLE. It's been more than a year now, so belated happy birthday to you as well, because you just celebrated your first anniversary with TLE. Now, I've got to confess, usually when I do these interviews, of course, you got to prepare for all your special guests, because honestly, honor to whom honor is due, right? And we had so many fantastic people on the show, which makes me very grateful. Like people like Pete Johnson and John Yerber and Dion from Illusion and Matt Booth, all these world champions really of our industry. And today is just as exciting, even though a little differently, because well, we have you ladies working more on the sort of media side like we are, and bringing like a different twist and angle to the whole industry. But I have to say, it was never as easy for me as tonight to prepare for the show, because literally I have zero notes, I have zero things written down, because I know I could talk to you for ages and it wouldn't get boring a single second. Like the way I got to know you, it's just fascinating, the energy and the fun and the excitement that you bring to the industry, even though you say of yourself that you're sort of, you know, bringing a little edge to the cigar world as well. And we're going to get into that a little later. But first of all, I would like to know, how on earth did you come up with the crazy idea of doing a cigar podcast?
You want me to talk about
that? Yes, definitely. Go ahead.
All right. So the podcast, so with how it came about is, I want to say I started my own brand promoting from a female cigar from the female cigar perspective, in a more classier lifestyle, what it really is way. I've hired a wonderful photographer, and we built up the brand itself, which is Erican, and for the past 3.5 years. But then on social media, there came a point where I hit a plateau. My message wasn't getting out there as far as I'd like it to because of the algorithms, and there were other people on social media, like these influencers, that were kind of gave us like you could probably say like a tarp over us, where we couldn't be seen or heard as much as we wanted. So I said, okay, you know what? And I'm thinking, and I was thinking for about 5 months, I was like, how can I twist this? How can I make sure that my voice gets out there for many other, not just for women, but for also the men in the industry that are part of the culture, that aren't being seen or heard because of, you know, whatevers. And I said, okay, one, I'm not really good at video. You know, this whole world has become a little bit more comfortable. But before this, just like, you know, there were already videos out there. A lot of people are doing wonderful jobs. But, you know, what about podcast? Because I listen to podcasts, you know, traveling so much. So I was like, you know what? And about, I want to say 10 years ago, somebody said that I have a great phone voice. So I said, okay. So I put 2 and 2 together. Researched, listened to all the other podcasts out there. I was like, there's still something missing in the culture. It seemed as though that a lot of people were afraid to talk about certain topics, bring up awareness, etiquette, what should cigar lounges and shops do to help us as consumers, you know, feel more comfortable with walking in, when you have staff members that should be somewhat knowledgeable about what they have in the humidor. What if you're a beginner smoker, it's okay to feel a certain way. You're not alone. Let's try to help you. Now, between Amy and I mean, we have a lot of knowledge. However, we're still everyday learning. We don't come at an angle that we know everything. Absolutely not. We're not about bashing anybody, any company. No. So it's just more of a positive way to look at the culture, because that was missing. There was, especially here in the States, it's a lot different than it is in Europe, because we have everything's in our face, between cigar shops, the magazines, and the list goes on. So it's all at our fingertips. Mm-hmm. But there's just an overly saturation of many things, and we didn't want to be a part of that. So the lounge experience, we thought about it. We, made sure that we got the right equipment, that you can, hear us properly, who our guests are going to be, and just studied and researched and made sure that when we launched last year, April 4th, we were prepared. We understood exactly what was needed for our culture. And so far, I mean, it's been a wild ride. And it's been, a lot of people in the industry, they do support it, which we appreciate.
Such are you guys.
And such as you guys. You guys
Yes.
allowed us to be on this platform, which is awesome, because it's like, I feel like you guys are bringing two worlds here.
Yes.
Like, this is, you have the European market and so on, and then here's the USA, which is really cool, because I don't think I've ever seen this before so far on online yet.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree. Like, could you possibly share just a few thoughts and about how you actually got into cigars? Like, I mean, you still both got sort of a side hustle, or like a normal proper job, if you will.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that later, but how did you start with cigars to begin with?
Amy, why don't you tell them a little bit about you, and then I'll go into it.
Sure.
Gives me a minute to drink my drink.
What is it?
Wait, cheers, guys. Cheers to whoever's drinking.
What are you having?
Say that again?
What are you having in terms of drinks?
So Erica's having a beer, I am having two things. I'm having a beer and rum.
This is Amy, you guys.
I always say breakfast is the most important drink of the day. So fire away.
I see Alexander, he's drinking the same thing as me, Brugal XV. Yes. So going back to the question. So I started smoking cigar about 8 years ago. And the way that I got introduced to the cigar industry was by kind of like a weird way, because I was working for a hospital in New York City. And at that time I was just a temp, and they literally just let me go out of nowhere, didn't give me no notice or anything. So through my dad, that he used to work for a retail store, he had a lot of connections. So one of his friends' friend used to manage a cigar lounge in Upper Manhattan. So when I called my dad and I told him, hey, this happened, he's like, okay, no worries, I'll help you out. Let me talk to my friends. My dad came back to me. He's like, hey, I got you an interview with a friend of my friend, and he's interested to have you over there tomorrow. Go ahead, interview. And I was like, what are you talking about? For what? He goes, super vague, by the way. And he goes, just show up. It's for a cigar lounge. Do not make me look bad. And I was like, what is a cigar? What are you talking about? Who is this person? He goes, just go and do not make me look bad. And he repeats himself. I was like, okay, Dad, I'll go. So to make the story short, I go to the interview. The guy interviews me, hires me on the spot, and says, can you start today? I was like, well, there goes that. I don't know anything, and I'm supposed to not look my dad look bad. Sure. So I called my dad. I'm like, all right, he hired me. What am I supposed to do? He goes, you don't have to stay. Just go ahead and train, and you don't have to stay working. Well, let me tell you, I started working, and as soon as I started working, I fell in love with the culture. I fell in love with how the whole atmosphere of the store was. And as soon as I got trained on how to smoke, and it was not the best experience, let me tell you, but when the girl that trained me on the whole atmosphere and how everything was, I really felt at home. And I worked in multiple places prior to that, and nothing felt like a cigar lounge. So I got hooked, and I stayed there for about a year. Then I moved on to another cigar lounge that I got a better opportunity, and I just moved on onto bigger positions, and now I'm working in another lounge here in New Jersey, which is one of the biggest cigar lounges in the country.
I just wanted to say so, like, for all the people who do not know, you're still in retail, aren't you?
I am still in retail. I fell in love with it, and I don't know how to get out of it.
She's great at it. She's great at it.
Like, ladies, is that also where you would say the inspiration for the lounge part of the lounge experience came along?
Yeah, because that's the whole vibe, right? And that's, again, that what was missing.
Yeah.
So in the podcast world, nothing that I was hearing allowed me, like, drew me in, like, made me feel like I'm so comfortable and I can listen to this and it's great content. So we wanted to fill in that gap, and that's, the lounge experience. What we're doing virtually is exactly what we wanted to do, over, audio.
Yeah. And funnily enough, as you know, we were supposed to go live with a podcast called Light 'Em Up. We just sort of postponed it a little bit in order to give way for this now, which is our virtual lounge experience. So I'm just super glad that there's so many different angles now to look at the industry and different voices. And yours obviously having a unique tone and speaking to the industry with an entirely fresh and exciting and invigorating voice. I was wondering, when you started off, like, Erica, I know that you have sort of a history in the cigar industry, but how did you make sure at the beginning that you got hold of all the people that you wanted to have on the show and even started building your audience? Because it's one thing to be like, let's start a cigar podcast because I have this vision, and then the other thing is growing to the popularity that you ladies reach within a year.
That's a great question. It's interesting because probably before we launched last year, I was watching something with another podcaster, and it wasn't Joe Rogan. It was this young 18, 19-year-old guy that his podcast blew up. And he had mentioned something, and it always stuck with me. It's one, the guests that you have on, don't focus in on the follower count. Don't do that. Why are you bringing on this person? Are they going to add to what you are doing? Like, are they what you want a part of your podcast to be? And he's like, listen, you may get 2 followers, 3 followers, maybe 2 subscribers for the next month, but that's 2 more people that are in tune with you. They're investing time every week for you, and that means a lot. It's better than having an empty room. You fill that room with 2 people. It's more than what you had before. And as far as, like, starting off with bringing the guests on, we started off with our closest friends that are the culture. When you do look, like, we use social media because on Instagram, because that's where it's at for, I see the cigar industry is right now. That's where it's instant. You can see beautiful photos. You can connect with people right away. So the guests that we had on and still continue to have on, they have a connection with their followers. So it's not just they post a wonderful photo, but they tell us about the experience with that they're having with that cigar, with that drink, everything as a whole. And I feel like I can connect to. I comment, they comment back, and we're having a conversation. And this is with everybody that they're doing this with. So they add something very unique, whether, it's, a female or a male, they all add, and they are the culture. And again, that was what's missing. Of course, we could go maybe to the top and get the biggest manufacturers on, but who are the people behind the brand? Yes. Who is pushing this brand? I'm curious about that, because of course we can, these big manufacturers, we can Google, we can find out their history and their background because they've been in it. Mm-hmm. But where is this other wave? Where is this, other level of individuals that are pushing these brands? It's the consumer. It's the, maybe the VP of sales or somebody in the factory, the blender. Somebody is driving this brand. I need to know who this person is. Yes. So it's just thinking of it as a different, like, who can I sit down in my lounge and have an awesome conversation with, and ask as many questions as I can and really get to know this person without it being boring, or I can, not saying everybody is, but I'm just saying, like, that who we don't have on the podcast are not boring. We're not saying that. No, but as far as, like, it's just different, there are media outlets. But again, like, there's a lot of bloggers and there's a lot of other people doing certain things, which are wonderful. But again, where were these people that we had on?
I want to add on to that as well, is the fact that we look at things where, listen, we support so many other podcasts. We support so many other people, such as you, where you guys are doing your thing and you guys are creating content. You guys are having guests on, right? But we're also looking at it where we're learning what is missing. So we want to basically provide that little piece that it has not been provided to everybody, to the industry. It could be the consumer side, it could be the retail side, all these little things that people sometimes don't think about. We're trying to think about those. So that's what we're doing. We're focusing on what we don't see so we can be able to create it and give it to you guys.
And help the culture. It's the culture does need a lot of help, especially in the States. I mean, it's just like there's so much going on, and it's, people are left behind, and yes. There's and it's kind of unfortunate to see that. So that's what's driving us and continuing to push us through and provide great content for you all. And nobody's left behind.
It's interesting that you mentioned that you feel like in the US, the culture probably needs a bit of support and oomph. Like we have a lot of European people on the call and on the show, as you know. We have people from Asia joining us, but also luckily we have a lot of people from North America, Middle America, and South America joining us. And we appreciate that an awful lot. Like it means the world to me that we get to connect people from all ends of the world. And this is really why Light 'Em Up was born, and I feel the very same about you. But I was interested, why do you see it like maybe a bit differently than people from Europe, whereas the US is always sort of the promised land because it's still 50% of the market, roughly, more or less, right? And for us, it's probably like there's plenty more opportunity in the US, and there's so many brands that you would never see over here in Europe, where still a lot is driven by Cuban cigars and the Davidoffs of this world, right? So I think this is a super interesting part, the differences in consumer behavior and in cigar culture in different parts of the world.
Yeah, it's when, I'll let you know, like we've talked about this, Reinhard, when we first went to Europe for the first time to go to Intertobac, but we made it a big like trip, like vacation yes. and work at the same time. The European market completely changed my life. Like looking at one, it was like, wow, you all really are appreciative of the cigar culture. You take your time. with everything. You study it, you enjoy what is put into a cigar. And that's kind of how I saw it. And I was like, why, this is something way different. Like this is teaching me so much. Like you all, without even saying anything to me, it's basically we're telling me, slow down. Like it's okay. Like enjoy everything. Enjoy every single piece of it, whether you're sitting outside, you're cutting with your favorite cutter, or not so great of a cutter, but it's still cutting your cigar. Every little piece. And it came back when, and then coming back here, it made me realize, like, wow, the US has an opportunity to have their hands on all of these different brands, but there's so many people that are complaining. Mm-hmm. It's always, it's like, okay, whether, it's a cracked cigar, we hear it all the time, we see it all the time. And, or if it's a bad review, a lot of reviewers can, they say they give a brand a certain percentage, and that can drive people to the brand or drive people away from the brand. So it's just like at a different, I see it as like everybody's like kind of one-upping each other instead of coming together as a community and really appreciating the culture for what it is. And this is something that we bring awareness to. Not a lot of people like the fact that we talk about this, but this is what we see. And a lot of people share the same feelings as we do. It's very frustrating. We see a lot of brands that put a lot of time and effort into their brand and their cigars, but you have to move differently in the industry. It's like, I could be wrong, but what we see is like, who is going to be it's the survival of the fittest. Yes. It's so, and when I think of you all and what Cigar Journal has done, even from the magazine side, it's like, wow, like it's refreshing. It's a breath of fresh air. Like I could sit in this whole Zoom meeting probably for hours without even getting, tired or saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And that happens a lot now. But with you all, there's so much to learn. Like you guys have these wonderful stories, backgrounds, and you guys appreciate it.
What I've noticed personally from the European side is that you guys appreciate the industry in a very high standard. You guys look at it as if it's very luxurious lifestyle. Here in the United States, it's more about, what can I get? What can I get? What can I get? What are you going to give me? What are you going to give me? I'm supporting your brand. What are you going to? It's just so much competition and so much I want, but not much of like, hey, I'm going to give you. I'm gonna support you just because I want you to survive. I want to support you because you are providing me a great experience. And I don't see that. And
it happens.
Excuse me, right?
So
excuse me if I don't see that in the European side as much as I see it here, because obviously I am the US, so it might happen over there too. But that's what I see, and I learned from being in Europe and sitting with people and hearing their conversations and experiencing the lounge here, working in the retail side. So it's kind of wonderful to see both sides and being able to provide that point of view and being able to compare and contrast and share that with our listeners and followers.
Funnily enough, I think plenty of people in Europe would think of just what you were describing, that more luxurious lifestyle thing, also as a bit of a burden, because it just makes for a higher entry barrier, if you will. So it becomes a bit more of an aspirational, affable, and high-end lifestyle that is not as approachable and maybe not accessible for everybody, right? And what I always appreciated about the cigar culture in the US is that a cigar is an every person's treat and an everyday treat. And you could meet people from the blue collar worker all the way up to the multi-billionaire, right? And this brings us all together. But it's so interesting to see those differences in perception also of the different markets. And that makes me excited. I was just wondering, would you say that this certain like the difficulties that you were describing in the US market, is that because it's oversaturated and people are just, you know, like bombarded with all the good things and not really appreciating anymore?
That's hard. That's hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's maybe it's a combination of, you know, us being told certain things for so long, and then we find out this information is wrong. There's a lot of people hiding things, as far as like, you know, manufacturers could say, okay, this is, you know, with this brand, this blend, you know, I'm not saying this is this one that I'm smoking, but this blend, you know, a year from now, clearly I know that it's changed, but they're telling me, no, it's not changed. And we know it's changed. It's been confirmed that it's changed in, between, say, the binder, you know, changed to something else. And we find this out. It's like, all right, well, how can I trust you? Like, okay, then this is, you know, this is, it's just the information that's being provided to us. How do we know? How can we trust it? And this is coming from me. You know, not a lot of people think the same way, but it's just from what I've experienced. And it's kind of sad. And, you know, so it's like you have all these brands, you say, okay, this FDA stuff, I don't know too much about it because otherwise I'll get crazy and I don't understand any of it. But then you think of the FDA and you hear these dates of these things changing, and, you know, manufacturers can't come out with cigars before 2008 or something like that. But, you know, after 2008, and then all of a sudden these new brands come in and we see these new blends and we hear about the stuff, and I'm like, what? So it's like, there's a lot of confusion. 2007, yes.
Yes.
And so there's just so much confusion. It's like, who do you believe? Who do you don't? Like, a lot of things put a bad taste in my mouth, for sure. And you have all this stuff going on all the time, but how do I know it's true? Like, where do I go to read this stuff? How do I know? Do I go directly to the manufacturer? Do I not? Who do I go to within the group? And, you know, so luckily there are people in the culture that do wonderful research. They have these relationships with the manufacturers or whoever, you know, the reps are and so forth. We're able to ask them, and we feel as though we're getting actually more information from them than we would anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So it's just like maybe a combination of everything. And it's just, and again, it's, you know, being in the New York City area, things could be completely different. And this is what we see here. It could be completely different than California or Arizona or Montana.
And still, I think we all got to say that we're so fortunate to be in this industry and work in this industry, because it's probably the most beautiful and passionate industry there is. And I have a wine and spirits background, and there you see a lot of passionate people, right? But it just freaks me off like crazy how wonderful this industry is, and just how passionate all these people are that make an honest and great contribution. And of course, there's different perspectives and different approaches and angles, but that's also your opportunity, and I guess sort of your mission statement and why you're doing the whole thing is bringing exactly those people on your show that you feel are doing a proper and an honest job, right?
Yes, absolutely.
How do you go about handpicking all those different people that you bring on?
So I know the majority of the time is, I know Amy has brought some to the table, but like my mind, it goes far and beyond. Like it always has. It's like this entrepreneur mind. I can't shut it off. So
Her mind is like, sometimes I'm like, okay, hold on. Like, just like, stay with me for 1 second. just explain to me what you're thinking, because she goes 50 miles an hour, and I'm like, okay, hey, what are you telling me right now? So she thinks of everything and anything that there is.
Yeah. So I mean, even before, I feel like when I started up the brand Erican 4 years ago, I was building up these relationships. I now look back at it, I was like, wow, I was meant to do that, to make sure that people knew who I was. I was a part of the culture, like, coming strong, like, I know a lot, but I still am learning, but I'm not going to, say that I know everything. I'm just going to kind of sit here quietly, but build these relationships up over the past years, but especially going to the trade shows, going to the one in Vegas. I think I've been there like four times, and then now going to the one in Intertabac. Met a lot of people. You just build these relationships over time. And then, having this podcast, I was like, oh, I'm like, I remember talking to them about 2 years ago. Where do they go? They're still a part of the business. They're still a part of the industry. We need to bring this person on. So that was definitely just thinking about each topic that we want to talk about every episode and every week. Who can add to this? So talking about blends, okay, who's a good person to bring on to talk about blends, or a specific manufacturer that people may not understand, but so let's bring them on. Let's ask them the questions, so the consumers and the other side of the world understand who this person is, the way that we know them, so that can connect with the rest of the world.
Roy Sommer, who's joining us through Facebook, and we say hello to him, ask a follow-up question. Who would you love to have on your show, but you haven't been able to get yet? And this is your chance to make a big shout out to all the people so we can get them on, right?
You. Oh, yes, you. You need to be on our podcast. Like ASAP. Like yesterday.
Thank you. And I can promise you we'll make that happen for sure. But thank you for that. But other than myself and some people from the industry maybe that you would like to have on, who would that be?
I want to say, if I could have anybody on, it would probably be, I mean, there's so many people. I'd have to say, I mean, a wonderful gentleman that I've seen over the past couple of weeks, and I've known of him for very many years, and he's another OG, just like Matt Booth.
Yes, who's here, by the way. Hi, Matt. Hi.
Would it probably have to be Dion from Illusione?
I thought of the same thing. I was like, let me see if she's going to say the same one that I'm thinking.
Dion. Hello, Dion.
Yeah.
He was on Light 'Em Up, and let me tell you, that was an inspirational session. Bloody hell, that was really good. It was such a pleasure to have him on the show, and I'm pretty sure that he would be excited and happy to join you ladies as well. And honestly, I think you could just continue having Matt Booth on the show for probably another 10 episodes, and people would still be super happy and tuning in, because he's got like so much to say, and that alone would make for an awesome podcast, I'm sure. I want to go into that media part a little bit, because I think tonight's really the opportunity for us here to share our thoughts about the media side of the cigar industry. And obviously, social media changed everything in every industry. No matter which business you're in, social media has been the disruptor number one. And it gives sort of every person out there a voice, right? Good or bad, like without any judgment. But Erica, you are a social media expert. You worked in digital marketing for a cigar company even, right? How do you feel about that part of the industry where literally everybody out there could smoke a cigar, fire up YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is, and be heard?
there's some things that when I was working for the companies for doing their social media marketing over the years is I basically wanted to be that one connection to the manufacturer that people could write into and say, okay, DM and say, hey, listen, I'm trying to find your cigars, but I can't find them. Where can I find them? Okay. Literally, I probably come across maybe 2 other manufacturers that have done this because I've actually wanted to find certain cigars and I couldn't find them in my area. And I would come across like, hey, where can I find your cigars? But I would get nothing. Like, you know, they're not the right questions. I would kind of have to go to a website. I would have to do extra steps where here I am, you know, as, you know, behind the scenes for a manufacturer. This person wants to know where these cigars are. What can I do to make it so easy for them so they don't have to think? Okay, 1, what's your zip code? Where are you located? Okay, and then I'm going to give you a list of cigar shops that have our cigars available. And here's their phone number, just to give them a call, make sure that they have them available before going out there, the sizes that you have, that you're looking for, before you're going out there. Boom. And then let me know if you need anything, any other help. That again, that was something that wasn't happening. And sometimes it still doesn't happen when I ask. So where then I seek for this information within our little, you know, our group of friends and acquaintances. I'm like, dude, like I'm looking for this brand. I have no idea where to find them. Where are they? And I get more information from them. So then we've talked about this numerous of times on our podcast that, you know, you could say the culture and the industry is still in 1990s or before that. It's like the old mindset. So social media, I don't want social media. I'm not about social media. I'm not going to get into it.
Or they do the minimal on social media.
Right. Or they invest in people that are influencers and think that that's going to be their answer. In reality, you know, how you got to think about, like, especially right now as a manufacturer on social media, how am I going to connect with people? How can I make it easier for my retailer? What are these, you know, where are these ideas at? You got to think about, like, if I'm a consumer and if I want to get connected with you, in what way as a manufacturer can I do through social media to make that consumer come, you know, get a little bit closer to me, understand what I'm trying to do, and I need your support, as well as your retailers need your support. I'm not seeing that, you know. So, and I hope it really changes, you know, in the next upcoming weeks, because this is going to be a real test for us, especially in the States. A lot of the lounges have closed, and it's unfortunate. And all these other lounges are going to, you know, struggle. So on social media, what are you going to do? And if you don't know what to do, maybe hire somebody, or I'm sure like a lot of people will intern with marketing background, social media skills, customer service is huge. If they have customer service skills, that's huge too. You know, they could help your company out. And, you know, as far as like influencers and what we call them now, right? With these big numbers, like what can they do to come together to create a feel comfortable atmosphere that we can come together and come up with ideas as, you know, to help the industry out. But we're not seeing this. So it's unfortunate.
So the one thing you're talking about is really the manufacturers and brand owners side, and how they deal with their social media presence and their online brand, right? And there's examples who do a wonderful job, and some who probably do not even have to, or feel like they do not have to, whatever that might mean on the mid to long-term perspective, right? But then there's this other side that you mentioned, the whole influencers and the commentators and people who jump on YouTube and Instagram and build their own brand with huge followership and a big audience. And they become this other part of the industry and the other voice. I love this this one quote or that saying from Gary Vee, when he always says, social media doesn't make us better or worse, it just exposes us, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that part of the cigar world?
I think it exposes. Big shout out to Gary Vee and the wine library. That's where we get our drinks from. So it's yeah, they own the wine library down the street from us. So exposing, yes. Right now, yes. It's exposing a lot of different people that you may have thought that was one thing, and now they're trying to hold on to their followers or their community of whatever they've built up by doing these lives, by being in these Zoom parties and so forth. But then you get to really see another side of them that cannot be manipulated or edited. So whereas that's another reason. It's like, okay, this is why the lounge experience is what it is, because we knew we had some sort of background, we knew we had structure, and this is what we wanted to come out of it. Whereas right now we don't see that. And this is something that we just talked about in our latest episode last week. It's just like, all right, well, I thought one thing of one person in the industry for many years, but then I saw them, and then they were talking. I was like, well, I'm not going to support this person, as a consumer, because you really showed your true colors in just a few words. It probably, some people probably missed it, but I'm somebody that pays attention to every single word, and it didn't jive with me.
You listen to what is not being said, but it's been said without having to say the words.
Erica, I think what you just said perfectly exemplifies that your approach is really different than most influencers' approach. Because for you, obviously, it's not about just collecting the biggest audience and bringing everybody on and having 70,000 people following you on Instagram, because you just do something that is considered popular, or it looks great because you take some flashy images half naked with cigars somewhere on your body, right? Excuse my French.
Oh man!
Oh, you're gonna get us into trouble, man.
To the industry and trying to have other people experience what you just described. So, funny question. Even though I hate the word influencer, but would you consider yourselves influencers?
I think so. We influence for not ourselves. We want everybody to have a great experience. And that's what we want to make sure that bringing awareness, what do we think as a consumer that could help lounges out, manufacturers, like we're bringing awareness, maybe what you're not doing in the industry. Maybe by saying these things, and maybe they'll start to think differently. Whereas, we're in hopes of it. We hope that, people change for the better and what can help them out to help us as well. And there have been people that have been very upset the fact that, we're talking about, say, specific lounges. Like, hey, we're not saying the name. We're just like, hey, if you do have a beautiful lounge, why don't you invest in it a little bit? And your chairs are broken and have been broken for the past 3 months.
Or a year and a half.
Or a year and a half. then all of a sudden we start to get people that have been following us and then listening to us. Hey, listen, look at what this lounge did. You know, they changed their chairs. They actually changed their humidor up. They are now talking to us like we're human beings. They just, and it's like, it's the, I would hope that we would be, and in that type of way, you know.
Great. We have plenty of questions coming in. I would like to first bring in Anthony, who first maybe he would like to bring up his comment regarding the differences in culture and consumer behavior, and then he had a great question regarding the two of you and how you sort of complement each other.
Hello, Erica and Amy. I'm Anthony from Switzerland.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm living in Serbia right now. I mean, we can see you're a great team, the both of you. And I wanted to know how you feel you complement one another in what you're doing together.
It's super simple.
She's really hyped. She's really excited. It's all of the time, Anthony. Like, you would think that she would have like 10 cups of coffee all day long. So I see Amy as the bubbly and exciting and just Amy's like the hype man of the podcast. And she's always been it. It's great to have that. Whereas I'm more level, you know, just kind of monotone. But she does, you know, have that, and I needed that. You know, it's otherwise it just kind of would have been like, you know, the podcast probably would have been boring. So you kind of need to, she reminds me that I need to sometimes lighten up and just kind of laugh a bit and just kind of wiggle around.
So adding on to what she said, I see our team as, you know, she brings the analytical part of it, the entire podcast. She understands things. She thinks about everything and anything possible. I'm the one who looks for the energy. I give energy so I can receive it. So it's a very good balance when it comes to bringing the information, but also bringing the energy into the podcast. So that's the way I see us. So
also the fact that Amy has the retail side.
Yes.
You know, she knows all about the retail. I know a very small amount because I only worked in the cigar shop for about 8 months. But then here I have the social media background. You know, I've been to a lot of the trade shows. So we kind of bring these two worlds together, and it just adds so much more.
Well, we hope that
I hope so.
I hope that people feel that.
Thank you. Just keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it.
Another great question from Ian, and I'm pretty sure you're going to appreciate that one.
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Amy. Hi, Erica. Enjoying the conversation very much. The question, I love seeing ladies smoking cigars, but how do you encourage ladies to get into cigars? It seems to be, certainly in England, it's very much a male thing. I mean, probably sort of 95, 98% of the cigar smokers at my club are men. How do we get more ladies into into enjoying it?
Because it's a great question, Ian, because we get this all the time. It's a matter of how do we make the women feel comfortable with being able to cut the cigar, you know, pick the cigar out that they think that, you know, that would match their palate, cut the cigar, you know, light the cigar, you know, where can I sit? You know, I love like going into, I tell them all the time, I'm like, listen, you're afraid to go into a cigar lounge? All right, let me help you with maybe what you would like to enjoy as far as smoking a cigar. This is the size that you may want to look into, because I know your palate and what you like to eat and what you like to drink. So look out for these brands. Look out for this flavor profile. Like, so if they ask you in the humidor, what kind of flavor profile that you're looking for. And honestly, just embrace the fact that when you do walk into a lounge, yes, everybody's going to probably stop and look at you like you're crazy, but maybe get all that information that you'll need when you're in that humidor beforehand. So you can feel confident going into this place and saying, this is what I want. Now, as far as like ordering online, I don't know how it is over there, but if they want to order online, it's like, there's so many different sample packs. Try these cigars, and they can always reach out to us. We have so many people that reach out to us, male and female. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm really trying to get into this. What do you think that we should, look for? It's, and it also has a lot to do with other people in the industry. How are you, of course, it's a male-dominated industry. How are you going to make me feel comfortable? But then it goes back to, what Reinhardt said about like, okay, what we see all over social media, the perception of the women and what they, so I'm supposed to feel like I supposed to feel like I should be that way in order to gain the respect that I need with walking in somewhere or talking to a group of guys and smoking a cigar. No, like, you do you. Find out what you like and forget what anybody says, because this culture, a lot of people can appreciate women smoking a cigar. They add to it. I've had wonderful conversations. Of course, it's like, me going into one of, the cigar lounges in Wall Street. I've gone to one many times. It's my favorite one. I'll go there and like, before I was like, okay, this is Wall Street? No way. And then they welcomed it. And it's, I can't think about, what may happen as a woman. No, I can't think about it. But the best thing that you can do is educate yourself, try different things, reach out to people that you may think like, that could help you, and we're always here. They get more than happy to help them and guide them, whatever the way that.
Right. Yeah, in terms of follow-up, I mean, men, we love having ladies there. We love watching ladies smoke and so on. So the more the merrier. We're happy. Yeah. Just a little thing, talking about, coming back to what you were saying about cigar lounges, and I think there's a factor about the owners perhaps being more welcoming to ladies. I mean, I was in a cigar lounge in Miami last year, and it was a lovely lounge, but there were sort of 20 TV screens showing the sports. So A, it doesn't encourage people to sit and talk. They're there having a cigar and watching basketball, whatever it is. And that's not, I imagine, terribly appealing to the majority of women who perhaps aren't into sports in the way men are. So I don't know whether some of the owners, perhaps, of the lounges need to be a bit more female friendly.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
I hit the nail on the head. A lot of it has to do with the lounges, and people tend to sleep on this one big part, which my background is hospitality, like high-end, 5-star, 5 diamonds, grand award list, that kind of thing, like background. A lot of it has to do with the overall design and feel. The lighting is really, really important. Most people don't really, like as males, like we don't really care about that, but women tend to like pay attention to that. The Pairings Bar in Philadelphia actually has hand lotion in the bathrooms, like after you wash your hands, which is, I noticed it because this is a classic, like 5-star hotel design thing specifically meant for women. And I mentioned it to them and they're like, yeah, of course. Like we put it in there for the ladies. I can't tell you how many guys specifically say how much they like it. The other thing is, right, like make the actual experience more appealing, right? It's, it's not pleasant when you walk in and you're the center of attention for whatever reason. And I ended up talking to one of the ladies who smokes, in which she said, well, if you ever want to experience something like that, walk into a nail salon as a guy. And I thought about it and I was like, all right, that's kind of fucking weird, but sure. So I went and got my wife, a gift, a $50 gift card. And I walked into a nail salon and literally 15 women all looked at me and I felt slightly uncomfortable. And I imagine that's the same approach when, a female enters, male dominated cigar lounge. So kind of breaking that down and making it less weird, I guess, is probably the right way to do it. And then obviously the staff, the best thing I can say is probably don't make assumptions, right? They will typically go offer flavored cigars and stuff like that. And I'm sure you two can expand on that, you know, talk about that for hours. But I always ask with like, hey, you know, what do you like? And go from there. And the amount of women that enjoy, you know, larger ring gauges, or they go, you know what, I really love Lanceros. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, you're an advanced smoker. You know, that's pretty interesting. Instead of like, oh yeah, I smoke my Javas all the time.
Vlad, I think that's some wonderful points that you're bringing up here. And me having a background in five-star hospitality as well, and being an experienced designer, I'm all about that. And Eric and Amy, hopefully we're going to do a wonderful podcast session about creating holistic and multisensory experiences that speak to different people and different audiences, really on an overall holistic level, right? We also had a comment from Valerie Bradshaw over on Facebook that she loves watching sports in a cigar lounge, right? So I think it's really about getting rid of misconceptions and preconceptions about putting people in different baskets, be it because of their sex or where they're coming from, no matter what it is, right? It's the very same in a bar. If you as a bartender approach a couple and you would always suppose that she's having a creamy sweet pina colada and he goes for the cask strength single malt scotch, ultimately you can only lose, right? Because that's just not how the world works anymore, and I'm not sure it ever worked in any way like that, right? So I guess it's really about getting rid of these preconceptions and certain notions of what people would enjoy, right?
Can I speak up real quickly? I'm a follower of TLE. My name is Stephanie. I love they have done so much for us women smokers. I think, you know, I'm in DC, Washington DC, and the lounge that I go to is the Casa de Monte Cristo, and you know what? They have women tobacco specialists who work there. I think it also helps having women there to help you. It totally breaks the ice. So employing more women would be a huge help.
Yeah. You guys want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
Sorry. So it goes off of what she was saying. So Amy and I were at a cigar lounge about maybe like, it's probably last year, February. So we were there with two of our friends, and well, we were waiting for two of our friends. And this one gentleman came up to us. He put his card on the table, and I knew exactly where what this lounge was. It was just about to open in our area, and so forth. I said, okay, it was, you know, you guys, you know, you guys should come, you know, so forth. I'm looking to hire somebody. I said, okay, well, you know, knowing a lot of people, we may know somebody that is looking for a job. So of course I'm going to ask some questions. So I asked him, I'm like, okay, well, what exactly are you looking, you know, for? Like, what position? Well, I'm looking for a woman, and I need her to clean the ashtrays. It was all about the approach. It was like clean the ashtrays, fill the cups with ice, you know, attend to these people. And I said, okay, well, you mean a hostess? Yes. And I said, well, what about the tobacconists? You know, well, you know, you guys are still hiring. Oh no, that's for a guy. I said, okay. I said, okay, all right. And then he proceeded to say, you know, we want more women in here. We want more because you know what? Women like to buy a lot of cigars. So
I chuckled with my very sarcastic way. And I said, really? Okay.
Yeah, it was
very interesting.
These are things you know, stories for days, but this is kind of the mentality. Okay, this is somebody opening up a lounge, a brand new lounge. That's their mentality. I'm not going in there. I'm not going to recommend it. no way, especially to, you know, a woman. And a lot of people will ask me, like, why don't you go in there? Unfortunately, I'm not going to. I explain the situation. They look at me like I'm a deer in headlights. So, because they can't believe it. They can't believe it.
A place that has phenomenal service, and I think a lot of lounges stumble on this part for whatever reason, whether it's, I've hired a bunch of people and recommended them. Typically, if someone has 4 or 5 star hospitality experience, 9 out of 10 times they're going to be great at customer service. It doesn't matter if they're selling elevators, cigars, or working in actual like hospitality. It really doesn't matter, because you just pick up certain things in ways to interact, and you just get molded in a proper way. A lounge that has a phenomenal service is Smoke in Philly. And Eli, who's the general manager, had a beautiful sentence about most cigar lounges when we got into this whole discussion, like what's the biggest stumbling block for cigar lounges? He's like, the biggest issue to me, him as another person in the cigar industry and running a lounge, is that a lot of the lounges are basically storage units with 5 guys judging what you're smoking. And then a small portion are actually lounges where you come in for the experience, the surrounding, maybe you learn something new, maybe you get treated a different way. And I think he's right. I think just the overall improvement for, like my local lounge, when I was in Studio City, I went to this local lounge, right? I just moved. It was a Sunday. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to a local lounge. So I ended up going to this one little place. I walk in and there's maybe like 4 guys sitting there, and including the owner. And I'm like, hi. Like, the guy doesn't acknowledge me, which is fine. Like, I'm not, he doesn't have to. So I walk into the humidor. It was a Viaje, Bill Hatchet, and something else. And he made a comment, something along the lines was, I've never had the Bill Hatchet before, and I don't remember what the second one was. It was a tatuaje of some sort. And he made a comment of something along the lines of like, oh, that's one of our cheapest sticks on there. Good choice. And I'm like, why? Like, I get where you are going with this, but that's not a right way to approach it. I was like, all right, whatever. So I sit down, light up my cigar, set up my computer, and ask him for the Wi-Fi. And he says it's the store phone number. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, it's my first time here, right? Like, how the fuck would I know what the store number is? And I'm like, I'm sorry, would you mind, telling me what the store number is? So he rattles it off, and I didn't catch it. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I Google it, and it's incorrect on Google. So I asked him again, and at one point I was like, you know what, screw it. I'll just hotspot myself, and
I think, long story short, hospitality really is a corporate culture thing. Hospitality is a thing that is so relevant for each and every industry, no matter what you do. And it's not just about, trying to please people when they walk into the door in order to being able to sell them more, but it's about treating people right, and individual people in different ways, because everybody's different, right? And you got to get a feel for who you're interacting with and who's on the other side, and just try to do the very best for all these people. I would love to bring in Raed, our Leaf master from Dubai and our brother from the Leaf. So good to have you on the call, Raed. Please fire away with your comment.
A pleasure as always. It's not actually a question, ladies. Very interesting. I mean, I've reached out to you last time I saw you on the call, and I was very intrigued. And Abdul, my partner, and I started researching what you're doing, and it's very impressive. And one of the biggest focus points or focal points that we've been doing here in the Middle East. Look, we come from a culture where women smoke, and women have what we call in our part of the world shisha or hookah or whatever you want to call it. But for some odd reason, for a woman to smoke a cigar publicly is taboo. Yet there's a lot of female smokers, and we've been encouraging a lot of them to come to our lounge and smoke. We've been inviting them to a lot of our events. Actually, the woman factor in lot of our events is definitely increasing with time. We're very happy with that. And we're very happy that a lot of times we get women coming into our walk-in humidor to buy cigars. And our first impression is they're buying them for their husband and their boyfriend. And their answer is, no, buying themselves, which is beautiful, you know. Some of the cigar brands actually provide certain vitolas that are very much geared to women, whether it's a marketing gimmick or not. It just works sometimes, and obviously some other times it doesn't, because some women believe that I'm going to smoke a cigar for its flavor and aroma, regardless of the way it looks and the shape and the size, and etc. But we would love to do with you, or what we would love, we would love to do something like this, is think together or put together a team that thinks of how can we, what you're working on, how can we take it to our part of the world? How can we give the next step? I mean, you're very much infatuated, and I agree, I'm the same, by Europe and the whole European experience, cigar experience. But in our part of the world, people are crazy about cigars. And yes, the biggest problem, the biggest challenge that we have is, some reason, they're obsessed by Cuban cigars. And that's why if you look at our mandate, it's about education, education, education. It's not about the single cigar, it's about the overall experience. And it's about us sharing our own knowledge with you, and it's about you coming into our place and meeting us. So just one thing to leave with you to think about, and I'm sorry if I spoke for too long.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, thank you. Is how can we put together a team that basically would tackle your thought process and how we can take that forward to the US, to the Middle East, Asia, or what have you, depending on the people that are on these calls, and see how we can make this like a movement, if you may.
No, that means a lot that you're saying this, you know, while we're
I'm honored.
We're honored, man. And so, I mean, first step.
We're honored.
First step, here we are.
Yes.
You know, we are, you guys have welcomed us into now with you all. Mm-hmm. So I would love, Amy just said it too, but we would love to be a part of it.
Yes.
However we can help, please let us know.
Yes.
Like, you know, it's whatever, we can put our minds together, we can come up with something as a team and just figure out how we're going to help you. That's, you know, thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Sure.
And for anybody else.
Sorry.
Say that again?
Actually, I'll share with you a very interesting story that happened today. So somebody adds us on Instagram, and you know, a lot of the accounts are not actually public accounts. So you go back and you add the person back, and you get the request kind of thing, and you can tell the name that it is it's actually a female rather than a male. And then she pings me and she says, you know what, I don't know whether I should accept your invite or not. And I'm like, my apologies, it was the right thing to do, you know, request to add you back the same way you added us, but it's really up to you. She's like, you're gonna find this very weird, but I'm a female smoker. I'm like, there's nothing weird in that at all. She's like, no, but I'm a female smoker from Saudi Arabia. Now, I don't know how much you know about Saudi Arabia. There's a huge movement that's happening in terms of the liberty of women. So now women do not have to wear that burqa on top of them. They do, you know, the freedom that they have, that has been rightfully given to them over the past year has been phenomenal. So this one is taking a step forward. She actually smokes cigars and she smokes them publicly. And she finally accepted the invite, and which is amazing. And I was just looking at pictures of her smoking her cigars, which is very interesting.
That's very cool.
I had no idea that's what was happening over there.
Yeah.
You guys have a whole other world. That's a whole, you guys as a combination.
Yeah. Forget about the Europeans. Come to our part of the world. Just kidding, guys.
Hey, guys.
We're group hug.
Hey, guys, I'd love to comment something here, if I may, for a second. Thank you for having me. First and foremost, I'm Alexander Berezowski from the Dominican Republic, and I wanted to point out to something that the question that Ian made earlier. And I think it's a lot involved, and this is the attitude that we have with having women involved in different segments of the industry, whether it be in a lounge or it be in the industry or whatever, as a normal thing. If we act like it's normalized, it grows on much faster, much more efficiently. Having, you know, Amy and Erica do what they do and just keep it going is just gonna keep the normality of how we perceive this. So I remember seeing Erica for the first time a couple of years ago when she worked with Cornelius and Anthony. I saw her walking in one of the trade shows in Vegas, and I remember seeing her, like, you know, owning the place, and it was like it felt really normal. It felt like super organic, and I really liked that about it, because it didn't feel like, oh, it's not normal to see, you know, a woman just like empowered like that, like super casual in a very male dominated industry. So it's like, invite women to your lounges and feel and let them, you know, feel like it's normal, because it is normal. We're at a point where they're so involved, so heavily involved, and just like they're just like us males. So it's what I'm trying to say is it's something normal, and if we think about having women welcome in our lounges, just like we traditionally hang out with our buds, instead of asking, you know, calling your friend to go watch a game with you, or to go and sit at the bar and have a cigar with you, invite women and act like it's normal, and that's going to feed onto it a lot. So, you know, I think the attitude that we take towards this being a normality, and having people and collectives like TLE and like what Eric and Amy are doing, just like a normality, is gonna you know, help this you know, help the women be more comfortable and be more involved in the community.
Definitely.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Alexander, thank you very much for that comment, and it's a pleasure to have you on the call as well. So welcome. And honestly, ladies, I have to tell you, even on Facebook, people are saying and commenting like they're getting goosebumps, and we have so many wonderful comments and so many fantastic people joining us. Rebecca Hatfield Harvey, she just commented, and we have Valerie Bradshaw, and we have Indiana Ortez joining us, and all these wonderful comments, and Riot with everything that you just said. And this is really why we started Light 'em Up, and it means the world to me that we get to connect people from different parts of the world. And I would like to propose to all of you that we join forces, not just through Light 'em Up, but we're going to host a symposium here with Light 'em Up in this virtual lounge, and I would like to invite you all, Riot and Eric and Amy and all you people who would like to contribute, and let's share some ideas and do brainstorming on how we could really help and take the industry further, and just create this common effort to just make cigars even more enjoyable and pleasurable for all the people enjoying them around the world.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes.
And I think this is something, especially with you guys, and Reinhard, you being of Cigar Journal, it says a lot about who you all are. You know, it's a lot of people talk very highly of everybody behind the magazine. It's always said like Cigar Journal is it. Like so the fact that you've brought this onto board, and you know, again, we're honored to be here. And it's one thing, you know, always thought in your mind, you're like, okay, how are you going? This the other day when we confirmed this, it was like, wow, we are now taking it internationally. Now we're coming in as a whole and as a team together, and you know, and we can help, each other out. You guys could help, you know, our side of the world a lot with many things. And I'm really looking forward to the next step, because it's going to be awesome. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me. And by the way, I would like to do a big and massive shout out to the people over at Cigar Journal as well. Like me, of course, being part of the tasting panel and the contributing author, but Reinhold and Katja as editor-in-chief, they're doing a wonderful job, and their contribution to our industry can't be treasured enough. But ultimately, it's really all about the people. It's about our special guests like yourself, like Matt Booth that we had on, like Dion and John Huber, Pete Johnson, and Rocky Patel, all the wonderful people, and our guests, all of you. This is really what this is all about. And the more we can come together and connect, the better it will be ultimately.
Yes.
We had another wonderful question or comment from Thomas Greisen, and I'm super happy that he's on the call again. Big shout out to Oh My Cigar. They're doing a wonderful job as well. Fire away, Thomas.
Hello, good evening. I have a question about authorities and the government trying to stop advertising through social media. How do you cope with that hanging above your head? I don't know, in the US, probably it's not at the moment something what will happen soon, but last week in Belgium, the Belgian authorities, they asked Instagram, Facebook to block all the cigar influencers. And Instagram, Facebook, they immediately did that. So the cigar influencers in Belgium are not allowed to post cigars and make some advertisement. And maybe that will happen also in the rest of Europe. So how do you think about that? Social media will be blocked for cigar advertising.
Now, great question too, Thomas. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So I have a question though for you. So is it just the influencers can't post, or can they post, it just they can't like put hashtag ad or paid partnership? Do you know?
Well, if you have a private Instagram account like I have, it's not a problem. You can add a picture with the cigar ring. You can talk about the cigar. You can give some comments about the cigar. But if you want to have an open profile and you want to just recommend the cigar, whatever brand it is, it's blocked.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so wild. They put something in effect here in the States, whereas like you can't you can't pay somebody to advertise a cigar.
Or tobacco in general.
Just tobacco, or I think alcohol, and so now we're allowed to post about our experience and so forth with a cigar in the picture and be in an open account. So if it goes that route, I think it'll be fine for us, because this is exactly why we went to different platforms. Because these things do happen. Seen them over the years. You know, look at the cigarette industry. They can't post anything on social media, nothing. So if it goes that route, then there's always going to be another platform. And that's why you have to make sure, as a brand, you're not just stuck on one platform. You need to spread yourself out. Like that's why, you know, we really didn't focus in on Facebook as much as we did with Instagram, because Facebook only took so much, and there's a lot of things within, you know, the industry on this side on Facebook. We were like, no, you can't. Let's stick to Instagram, and now we're on, you know, the podcast world. Whereas the podcast is something completely different, and you're allowed to, you know, have a video up. That's why we started our YouTube channel, and it's just going to continue on, just spreading ourselves out just in case if those things do happen. You know, I don't mind putting my at this point, don't mind putting my account on private. I know a lot of other people may be affected by it, but again, you know, doing my research and looking at what other influencers are doing in other like fashion and you know, the cars and, you know, just everything else. And you listen to what they're saying, and they do a lot of live stories and just like, hey, just, you know, be aware, make sure that your brand is on as many platforms as possible, because you have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you for the answer. Very nice. Yeah, cool.
Erica, now when we talk about social media, of course, that being one big disruptor in the cigar industry, what other evolutions or changes in the industry have you seen over the last couple of years? I guess like the whole cigar club and subscription thing is one big thing that we should probably focus on and think about. But what other sort of evolutions have you monitored?
I think definitely the cigar subscriptions. They're good in a way. I like them for me personally, because sometimes I forget to go outside of the box. I forget to try new cigars. So I'm investing in a subscription. These are the cigars that I come in. I have to try these. I'm investing in these. So I'm not just going to have them sit here and just whatever. So those are really good. I know there's been a lot happening on that side. There have been some manufacturers changing up the way they do events. It's not your, typical over here. I don't know how it is in everybody else's area, but if they have an event, it really isn't with pairing. It's just, it's more of whoever the rep is, they're talking to you, and you buy 3 cigars and get 1 for free, or whatever the case may be. So that's it's like, what else is there? There's nothing else? Okay, well, then you see these other manufacturers actually coming in and saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to create some sort of class, and we're going to do it for a couple months. Once a week, we're going to have a group of people, and we go through the process of the history, the tobacco, and the blends, and so forth, and you're educating. And there's also been other events that teaches you about like pairing cigars, and it's experiences. It's the experience that we would absolutely, I would pay to go to something like that. Now it's when these other events are happening, it's like like, of course I want to support the brands that I really love, but but it's also awesome, and you get to see them, and it's a great time no matter what. But where is this going? So you're slowly seeing this happen. And I know right now, especially a huge one that just happened a couple of weeks ago with Room 101 in La Colina, the Ultimate Cigar Lockdown. Incredible. The production, if you guys have not seen it, it's definitely, it's on Facebook, and it's on YouTube as well. It's on YouTube. I'm sorry, it's under Cigar Lockdown episode 1, which Room 101 in La Colina wanted to create an experience for all of us and support the retailers. So you would buy a pack of cigars, and it would come with, it's basically drop shipping. Like we go through our retailer, whichever of our choice, we purchase this pack. These packs would actually ship to your home. Then, before this event happens, and then this event goes live. They have a DJ in the beginning, and then they have an amazing intro, wonderful production, the way that they set it up, clear, crisp. They had, raffles like every 15, 20 minutes. So also with your pack that you would get, these raffle tickets. So they would read off of these raffles, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm in my home. It was fun. Great. It was great.
And the hosts, it's very important also on who you involved in these events, because the hosts that they had, they were incredible. Mm-hmm. They kept the entire event so fun, entertaining. It was very educational. It was everything that we can really hope for.
So it's like, you're supporting the retail shop by buying this package. Then you're supporting these manufacturers. Now they're giving back to us.
They're including the consumer, which is important, because at the end of the day, this industry is based out of the consumers. Like the consumers support your brand. The consumer support who you are, your brand, your business. So including the consumer was amazing.
It was great.
It was amazing.
Great. I think that's probably has to be the biggest one that we've seen so far. And the reach that it's gotten is really great. So I highly recommend, like, if you guys can check it out, definitely check it out.
I tuned into the live stream. It was a really cool experience. Like, yeah, massive shout out. Let me phrase the question differently. Which evolution would you like to see over the next couple of years?
To be able, I want to see, I see it already happening with the trade show TPE, and where I would love to see that, which is in Vegas every year in January, the end of January. But you see that it's yes, it's a trade show, but it's bringing all worlds. It's a mini Intertobac. That's basically what it is. It's like a mini Intertobac, and it's going to grow really big for us in the States, and I can see it, and I hope so. I hope that's what I hope to see, an evolution in that way, that, you know, here's a company that's going to be supporting the manufacturers along with the retailers in a very positive way and just very comfortable way. And as far as, I really hope that there are, like, the mindsets, I think, especially with our generation, I really hope that the mindsets get out of that old school mentality, like in welcome people, welcome new manufacturers, like, okay, give everybody a chance. Let's come together as a whole and not, you know, feel threatened. So I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I would love to see that, and just everybody put all the, you know, bullshit to the side and just stop, like, the rumors are gonna go on
That's
forever.
Always gonna
That's
happen.
always gonna go
That's
on,
not gonna
but,
stop.
I mean,
but
just, you know, not feel the tension in the room when you have multiple manufacturers in a room. I think the younger generation is going to change this. Right. So
Do you see this generation shift happening?
In this generation, I think there's a lot of potential, but I don't think our generation has enough of a grip onto the industry, and we're working towards that and to change it to more positive outlook.
I will say, adding to what you just said about our, you know, this generation, what I would love to see from my part, it's seeing more individuals getting the education on the hospitality that this industry needs. There's have been so many situations and so many stories that keep coming back to us, not just to me, as an individual, but also to the TLE podcast, where so many people explained their experiences in the industry and how people have been treating them. I just hope that as time goes by, people understand that in this world, we really need more people who understand how to treat each other, and that it needs more humbleness, that it needs more education, that it needs more experiences, more than just saying, this is a product, go ahead and have it, and that's it. No, I want you to walk me through it. I want you to educate me. I want you to continue to explain or give me some sort of background on where you create bonds, as well creating experiences that continue to bring in more people. I want to see more of that. You know, learning how to bring in different individuals to create this big thing. That's what I want to see. Not so much separation. So that's from my personal experience.
Now, since we're already glimpsing into the crystal ball, where do you see yourselves going with TLE? What is in store for the podcast over the next?
Taking over the world.
Never settle for less, right?
I'm joking.
Think big. I love it. Perfectly fun.
No, it exactly what we're doing right now and having, you know, we've already built that foundation. It's a strong foundation, and continuing to keep it and not settle for less. So we want to support however we can and provide a comfortable space for everybody, and always will be. But I see us as being a media outlet that people look at and can say, wow, these girls really, work their asses off to provide the world with something different and refreshing, just part of our culture. And we've done that, but on a larger scale, to be able to take TLE on the road, go to Vienna, go to, the UK, go to Dubai, go to these places and create something with you all as a whole. And whether it's these classes, whether it's like a special like European, events for all of us to come together and have a really good time, and not just, it's not just about the cigars, it's about us as a whole. That would be really awesome.
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's work on that.
Oh, we will. Like, do you see that in media in general, but especially with social media in particular? There's always trends and fads that come and go, and there's different angles to look at things. It's at some point people are all into the video and switch over to YouTube, and then Instagram had its moment. Now audio is probably the one big mover and shaker, because people do not want to focus all their attention just on the video side of things, but they can listen to a podcast while it's doing something else, be it in the gym or cooking dinner, whatever it is. But what other changes do you see in the media landscape, and which change would you like to be part of for the cigar industry?
The one thing that I have seen, especially during these times, is that you have the people that are the face of the brand. Now they're up front and center with these videos and trying to provide something for the culture. I see that the most right now, as whether it's, sometimes you can only take so much video, but honestly, I feel like it's going to come down to the podcast world. A lot of people are getting into the podcasts now. And then obviously we always get everybody asking, like, when are you going to do a live? Like, we want to see you guys in video. So again, it's a lot of preparation, and there's a lot that goes behind it. So whatever we could give you now, like these Zooms, thankfully they've come about, like where we can stream live on YouTube, which is awesome. But I think it's really going to go to the podcast, especially with the younger generation coming about, and this is what they're into. It's like the instant Instagram. Then, I don't really hear about Facebook too much anymore. And then you hear about like, okay, YouTube, and then you hear podcasts. This is what I'm hearing right now. There's no other outlet. I know there's a new one, the TikTok thing, where you can do videos, short videos like Vine and stuff like that. But I don't think our industry is there just yet, and probably won't be there for a while. But I think it's definitely going to go to the podcast world.
I would also assume that with a podcast or with a live session like this, there's less opportunity to sort of tidy and pretty things up, because it's very honest and straightforward, right? There's no filters that you can put in your pictures in order to make it all just beautiful and very affable and aspirational, right? Do you think we need more honesty in social media and media?
100%. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Wait.
Again,
this is what we've been asking for since like day one. Please.
Well, right now you can really see it. I could look at multiple pictures and I'll tell you, I already have a sense okay, this person is honest, this person isn't. I see what your angle is. I see what your angle is. Whereas, you know, I can hone in on who I can connect with. And I feel like I can invest my time and energy into and get to know this person and become friends with this person. But absolutely, we need more honesty, because right now, the culture, you can't fool us. You can't, no matter what level you're on. We are spot on. We are watching everything.
This generation.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, you know, from the older generation that are paying attention now too.
Oh, yes.
And want to learn and want to continue to figure out what's happening in the industry. So you do have a lot of media outlet that, you know, we wish we would have more truth from and be honest. But I get it, you know, sometimes, you know, you have to twist things around to get your name out there, and that's your angle, not a problem. Like, that's you. But, you know, this is a day and age where vulnerability is crucial to what you are doing. People want to see the ins and outs of what you are doing. They want to know step by step, because it's not, we don't want you to be mysterious. Just tell us and explain to us and be honest with us in what you are doing. Don't, like, it's okay if you're not perfect, and you don't have to be that way, but speak up and just be honest, because we are going to respect you much more.
I think that also bringing honesty, it's also going to create stronger bonds and stronger connections with the people that you're really aiming for, your customer base that you really want to have. Like, thank God, I will say that this is the reason why we don't have 10K, 20K. We could have easily gotten that if we would have faked and made everything look like, unicorns and rainbows. But no, I'm not going to do that just to say that I'm going to have 20K, 50K people as followers. No, I want to organically grow those people because of who I am, because of who Erica is. And we really want to focus on seeing the truth beyond everybody else, of everybody. And I think that's what we're really missing. And we've been asking for this since day one. Just show me who you are. I want to really connect with you because of who you are, what you do, what you believe in, what you struggle with, your sweat and tears. I want to see that.
Yeah, and I mean, when you do put somebody that is going to be the face of your company, make sure that they can connect with every single personality. You know, just that they have to listen, you know, they have to, you know, make sure that they know who their crowd is, like who their, you know, that's it, you know, but in reality right now, we do want to see, ooh, too much smoke, Amy.
I'm sorry. That's not padrón. I'm sorry.
But yeah, for sure. Authenticity is key.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, like we had plenty of comments. Authenticity is the secret sauce. Over on Facebook, people are commenting and agree 100% with what you're saying. And Sharon Linkers Cundiff, she just said that consumers are listening with their dollars, right? Authenticity sells.
Yeah, it's true. Big shout out to Sharon.
Yes.
Another big shout out to our brother Smoking Moses, Aldo. It's so great to have you on the call.
How are you?
Hi.
Hi guys. It's a pleasure to see you both. It's really amazing. I have always an amazing, how can I say, I remember Erica when we met in Dortmund. It was fantastic, and I still have Erica in my heart since that time. So it's I want to add something about authenticity. I am the owner of a cigar shop in Venice, and well, I divide the smokers in three categories. I think the first one is the one like we are, so the one that enjoy the cigar for what it is, no matter where it comes from, and we smoke it for the pleasure of the smoke, and because a cigar is an instrument, is something that connects people and make you share something with some other people. So, and this is fortunately, I think this is the most big group of smokers. But there are other two groups, and these are the ones that are not authentic. well, this word is difficult for me. In Instagram and in all the other social media, and they are the one that smokes because they want to show other people that they are rich, that they are powerful, and they use the cigar just because of their need. Yeah, usually they smoke a super expensive Cuban cigars, and for them it's important to show the picture to the other people, to show the picture maybe with the Rolex behind or the key of a Mercedes under the cigar, and this is why they use the social media, to show the people that they are rich and they are powerful, and that's it. And the last category is the most dangerous, in my opinion, is the one they smoke because they want to be accepted from a group or from other people. And since I am also the president of a club here in Venice, I have some people that smokes only to be accepted by other people and not because they enjoy what they are doing. And also them, you see them in Instagram and you recognize them in Instagram because of the picture are always picture of sharing something with other people and not real, you don't feel the reality of what they are doing. And so that's it. And Instagram helps me understanding this kind of approach. So this was only a comment about you were already saying.
And we appreciate everything that you just said, because we've noticed that, we have witnessed it, and it is so true what you just stated. Seriously.
3 categories. We had named these categories as tiers.
Yes, we
had an episode last year that we had put these people in different tiers, and it's exactly what you pinpointed. So, and I thank you for saying that, because I mean, so many people hear us saying this all the time, but not really hear anybody else, say it like you have. So thank you.
And for me as a shop owner, it's super important to recognize which category I have in front of me, because if I want to be really a partner of him, I have to recognize if he only cares about showing the power or enjoying really a real cigar.
Yes.
It's important.
Yes.
And it's awesome that you can pinpoint that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
Aldo, great comment. And you are just doing a fabulous job down in Venice. I can't wait for the border to open up to come and visit you. And also to all of you guys, please be invited to check out Aldo's new YouTube channel. He's got some incredible videos on there. I'm still struggling with my Italian.
Unfortunately, they are still in Italian language, but I have to re-put them in English. So I'm starting now. So it's
no worries. I always think Italian is probably the most beautiful language. It's like velvet on the skin when you just listen to Italian. So it's very charming, Aldo. Keep it.
I have a lot of free time, so I have to find a way to fulfill the time.
We'll take subtitles in English. It's all good.
Yeah.
Big shout out to what you're doing. Awesome job, my man.
Thank you, Raimi.
And I guess it sort of brings us back to what I was saying before about especially the social media side of things. It just exposes us even more. And Aldo, as you perfectly mentioned, you immediately recognize where people are coming from and what their true intention is. And for me personally, I think either option is fine. Like even with all these tiers you were trying to sort of pinpoint people into, like, yeah, why not? Because I still think that every single approach has to be valued and treasured. And I'd much rather have people smoking cigars for different reasons. At least they're in the world of premium cigars. And hopefully at some point, everybody will sort of realize all the passion behind those products, all the effort and the time that goes into it. And as long as you're on a journey of discovery, there's always opportunity to, find a new door and open up a new world. And if we all can be part of that evolution and make our contribution to bring people into that world, to keep them there and to inspire them to find new paths and new angles to look at everything, that's really the power and the wonderful thing that we all can do, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about that, imagine if somebody came up with an app specifically for the cigar industry and gave us, these things in one app.
I swear, I cannot stop her. I cannot stop her.
That's just one manufacturer. because I know there are a couple manufacturers that have done this, you know, but they're still missing something. So what if somebody came out with something like this? I know it's a huge investment, but it could be this is our industry. We want it to survive. So events happening. Where are the events? You can look up, you know, certain spot just for the events. Like, oh, okay, I'm in this part of the world. We're at product, like just all this information on one app. Be insane. It would be a game changer for sure. There we go.
Somebody go ahead, create it, run with it, and just say that Erica kind of thought about it.
You heard it here first. You heard it here.
I feel like there's so much more coming from you ladies, and there's so much more coming from TLE. It's been such a wonderful session, and I can't thank you enough for all the thoughts and the information you shared, for all the passion and the enthusiasm you bring to the table. It's highly refreshing and inspiring.